Do you have any goals for the new year? Because I'm trying to reduce my waste and hopefully wean myself off of my trash service entirely. And if you're like me and you're trying to reduce your waste, a good place to start is a trash audit. As you can see, lots of toilet paper rolls. Those can be saved for fire starters. They can also be recycled. Now, the hardest thing to recycle is plastic. The plastic products cannot always be recycled. Right now, one of the only things that recycling service takes as far as plastic goes are things like plastic jugs. Now, if you're like me and you've read about the plastic recycling system, you'll know that even whenever you drop these items in the recycling bin, oftentimes they do not get recycled, which is heartbreaking. But we should still do it. And the reason why we should still do it is because until we can come up with a good solution for the plastic problem, we want it to be organized and separated from the rest of the trash. We don't want it leaking out into the environment. I'd say the easiest item to recycle is metal. As you can see, we've got a lovely collection of cans there. And then of course, cardboard. So already, if you're recycling, if you're wanting to cut down on your waste, on the amount of trash you throw away, recycling is a really good place to start. And as I mentioned, you can't recycle everything, but cans, cardboard, bottles, and glass, you cannot put glass in the recycling bin, but you can take it to a recycling center. And my favorite way to cut down on waste is through composting. If you save your leftover produce and any napkins, paper towels, things that decompose, you can put them in the compost bin. Now, I keep my compost bin outside, of course, and I've got a little place set aside here. I need to rebuild it to keep the animals out, but as you can see, lots of eggshells. There's my pumpkins from Halloween, and this is going to break down and turn into fabulous soil. Now, if you're going to do it right, there needs to be an even mix of the greens, these really nutrient-dense items that are going to break down, and things like leaves and sticks that are going to add more of the bulk. There's a whole science to it, but really, it's not that complicated. Just let items decompose naturally instead of putting them in the landfill. Now, what do you do about the things that aren't necessarily trash, but also aren't necessarily valuable? I've got a whole collection of crap here in my basement, and I'm just waiting to have a yard sale. So I've got a bunch of clothes that are left over from the last clothing swap that I did. I have a couple of ugly lamps, a broken coat rack, and then a whole box of e-waste. And if you don't know what e-waste is, you should look it up because throwing it in the regular trash can cause some significant hazards. So electronic waste, old computers, old TVs, that sort of stuff, those items can actually be brought to an electronic waste recycling center, and that's the better place to bring them. Or if you're like me and you're artsy, you can save them and see if you can make little art projects. All this other junk I'm gonna try to sell in the spring, and whatever doesn't sell, I'm gonna try to find some kind of alternative use for. Because if it's not fit for donation, don't bring it to a donation center. They get so much junk and so much crap that they can't use, and that actually causes more work for them.
So if you're like me and you're trying to cut down on your waste in 2024, there's a couple of things you can do. One thing I'm trying to do is wean myself off of single-use plastics by bringing like my laundry detergent jug to maybe the soap refill station, or buying food products in bulk at a Whole Foods store or like a Mama Jean's here in my area. And if you don't already have recycling service, get that set up, or just bring your recyclable materials to the recycling center in your neighborhood. Start composting if you haven't already done that, and if you don't have the space to compost, like not everybody has a nice outdoor space to dump their food scraps, there are a lot of really cool indoor options. Some of them are kind of pricey, some of them involve worms. But look into the options, because there are plenty of ways to make sure your food scraps and those items that can decompose get the most life out of them.
What do we do about the unrecyclable items and plastic waste like this? A good solution hasn't been found yet, although there are different companies turning plastic waste into different products by melting it down. It all seems kind of dangerous, and I'm not sure what the best solution is at the moment, but I'm gonna search for one in 2024. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I hope we can make the next year a little more waste-free.